Imagine turning coal into an empire worth 50 million in today's dollars. That's exactly what John Moore did in 1889 when he sold his coke operation. But the real story is what happened to that fortune 60 years later.
You know what's fascinating about these industrial fortunes? They never just disappear. They transform and create ripples through generations.
And this particular fortune sparked quite the drama. Here's John Moore, born in 1837, who had the foresight to purchase over 2,000 acres in western Pennsylvania. But he wasn't after farmland. He was after what lay beneath.
And what lay beneath was black gold, coal that would fuel the Industrial Revolution through something called coke production.
Let me paint a picture of what these coke operations were like. Imagine massive brick ovens stretching as far as the eye could see, burning at incredibly high temperatures, transforming coal into this super fuel that steel mills couldn't get enough of.
The conditions must have been absolutely brutal. I mean, workers were basically standing next to infernos with zero protection, right?
Exactly right. We're talking about constant exposure to toxic gases, coal dust everywhere, and temperatures that could literally kill you. And here's the thing. Even the managers weren't immune. Moore himself died just 3 years after selling his empire.
That left his 10-year-old daughter, Irene, and his wife, Elizabeth, with this massive fortune. Which brings us to the heart of our story.
Well, Elizabeth never remarried, which was pretty significant for that era. Instead, she focused entirely on maintaining their social position and grooming Irene for high society.
So they went from industrial nouveau riche to essentially old money in one generation?
That's right, and it's crucial to understanding what happens later. By 1951, Irene's portion of the estate was worth about $750,000. That's $9 to $10 million in today's money.
And then she makes this completely unexpected decision to remove Dr. James Lyon from her will entirely, which honestly seems to come out of nowhere.
You know what's really interesting about wealthy widows in that era? They were under this intense pressure to preserve their estates and pass them on appropriately. There were all these unwritten social rules about who deserved to inherit.
That must have been especially complicated for someone like Irene, who had 3 marriages and was clearly struggling with her place in society.
Speaking of society, let's talk about how the Moores navigated these elite circles. They had winter homes in Washington, D.C., connections to politicians, military officers, bankers.
But you have to wonder if they ever truly felt like they belonged. I mean, that coal dust doesn't exactly wash off easily in old money circles.
And that's exactly what makes this story so compelling. Here's this fortune, built literally from the ground up through dangerous, dirty work, being transformed into social currency.
Well, that transformation wasn't smooth sailing. Irene went through 3 marriages, lived this almost Gatsby-like lifestyle, and clearly had some complicated relationships.
You know what's particularly fascinating? The timing of all this. By the 1950s, when the will dispute erupted, America itself was transforming. The industrial age that created the Moore fortune was giving way to the modern era.
So, in a way, this will dispute represents more than just family drama. It's almost like a clash between America's industrial past and its post-war future.
Exactly. And that's why the amendment to Irene's will wasn't just unusual, it was almost symbolic. Something fundamental had changed, not just in her life, but in how wealth itself was viewed and managed.
So, what do you think finally pushed her to make that change? What could have been so significant that she'd break with all those social expectations?
Well, that's the $1 million question, or should I say, the $9 million question. The answer lies in understanding who Irene really was, beyond the society pages and charity events.
And I imagine that's not easy when you're dealing with someone who lived such a carefully curated public life.
You're right, and that's exactly what makes this story so compelling. It's not just about money or wills or social status. It's about identity, belonging, and the price of wealth itself.
Well, I can't wait to dig deeper into Irene's story and uncover what really led to that fateful decision.
And that's exactly where we're headed next time, into the life of a woman who inherited an industrial fortune, navigated 3 marriages, and ultimately made a decision that would spark one of the most intriguing will disputes of the 1950s.